episode of the Lisa Pezik Show. We're still here in this COVID land, spinning lots of plates, figuring out life hour by hour, day by day, doing the very best that we can. And I'm so excited about this episode because we are going to be busting down this myth, this trap, this self-limiting belief around the big P word, perfectionism. And I brought my good friend, Zapranzy. We're going to call her Ann Z so I don't murder her last name. I got Ann Z here with me, and she's going to help me bust this down. And we're going to talk about this because I think this is a real issue that's going on in our minds as we try to navigate, especially this time, if not everyday life. So, Ann, I'm so glad you're here. How are you?
I am great, Lisa. So happy to join you.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy you're here. So let me tell you about Ann. So Ann is the CEO and founder of Great Sports Minds, LLC, which she opened after a 31-year successful career in insurance. She's a speaker and a coach and works with business professionals, teams, and athletes to elevate their performance. Ann was a Fortune 500 executive and Division I athlete. So she knows how to compete and how to help her clients succeed. Ann helps her clients let go of perfectionism and self-limiting beliefs so they can focus on the process of being their best self. With her corporate insights, Ann teaches career success strategies to help clients raise their profile, communicate for impact, and strengthen their network so they can achieve greater rewards and recognition. Ooh, Ann.
Woo!
Man, a lot of wisdom I can see here in a 31-year successful career, Division I athlete, Fortune 500. You have run some miles.
Just a couple. But you know what? Nothing's more challenging than being an entrepreneur and having your own business.
Ooh, I know,
and
right?
Rewarding, challenging and rewarding.
Totally. And sometimes, let's dig in, sometimes when you have a company that you work for, you've got teams, maybe you don't feel like all that pressure is on you. Whereas if you're a solo business owner or an entrepreneur, you're the one when you get up every day to decide what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. You're going to make stuff happen, kind of where your headspace is at. So tell me a bit about this perfectionism, this self-limiting beliefs. Has this been a theme that you've seen with the people? Did you go, okay, that's it. It's perfectionism. That's what I got to share with my clients. Or was it a theme that you saw kind of emerge with the work that you do?
Yeah, so I'll say it's a theme, and it's a close tie between perfectionism and unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So with an athlete, let's just say I'm a basketball player, and I believe I should make every shot I take. I miss a shot, I get down on myself, it erodes my confidence, right? And if you look in the sports world, there's not one athlete in any sport that's 100% on anything, right? So that's an unrealistic expectation tied to perfectionism. When I see it on the business side, and I see it with men and women, where, this is how I'm wired, this is how I have to do it. And as a result, my work-life balance is out of whack. I'm like, tell me more, well, there's just a certain way it has to be done. Who says it has to be done that way? You say it has to be done that way.
Mm-hmm. And do you think those limiting beliefs came from influences that they had in their life, or do you feel like it's just this pressure that's out there?
I think it is. I think it can be in part the influences around you, right? It can be you bring home whatever grade, and your parents either say good or could you have done more, right? And so as a society, we are results focused. We're outcome focused, right?
Mhm.
But if we can shift and really focus on the process, did I do my best today?
Mhm.
And my best today may be different than what it looked like yesterday,
Mm.
right? So if someone brings home an A, you're like, oh, you got an A. That may have been a slam dunk for them, right? And somebody brings home a C, you're like, oh, but did you do your best today?
Mhm.
School,
Mhm.
sports, life.
I love that. And each one has its place. I love that. Now, you said we are a results focused society. We are. And what do you think? What do we miss? Like when we're only focusing on that A, or we're only focusing on that raise, or we're only focusing on that income amount, or what do we miss when we're like results focused?
Can you enjoy the journey? Can you enjoy the journey? I worked with a collegiate wrestler.
Ooh.
It was his senior year and so focused on the prize. And he got one of the two that he was chasing. And I just said to him, I'm like, look, you're 22. This is it. This is the last time you're going to be with your teammates. This is the last time you're going to have these matches. I, we want to achieve those goals. So I want you to enjoy the journey,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So many people are you enjoying life, right? So we're in COVID-19, right? You have two ways of handling this: stress and anxiety and complaining. And there are some people who have wicked high stress with this. They have loved ones that have been ill or may have lost people. So I don't want to minimize that. But then there's a whole bulk of folks who are still able to work. They're inconvenienced, right? So when 10 years from now, when you're sitting around the dining room table, what will your kids remember about this experience with you? I had dinner with my family every night. We made a cake on Sundays. We have a Sunday night routine where we snuggle in the basement and we watch, we're watching the Michael Jordan thing. What will your family say about this time 10 years from now? Can we enjoy the journey?
Totally. We have a ritual at dinner time. This was even pre-COVID, where we share our favorite part of the day. So we go around and I'll tell you our favorite parts of the day rarely are anything that anyone in our family has achieved. Usually it's we played tag, we played Monopoly, we snuggled on the couch, we stayed up an extra 20 minutes. Mom read me an extra story because I have a 6-year-old. We got to have coffee for the first 10 minutes of our morning together and didn't dive into work. It's rarely about the achievement. It's always about, and it always throws me because even when we have big achievements in our family, like something amazing happens, usually the best part of the day is always a feeling or an emotion or a memory that we shared together. So I love that you're saying, did you enjoy the journey? Because we've all seen people who are really rich and successful, yet their health is terrible, their family is broken. Or we've seen people achieve these big things where they look good on paper, but if that journey wasn't enjoyed along the way, you almost sometimes question, like, was it worth it,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I actually got that theme from a former Major League Baseball player who he was so worried about
Yes.
the next, that he never enjoyed the journey, and he hit the major leagues and he blew out his arm within like 14 months and he was done. And so he's like, never did I enjoy the journey.
Wow.
Right. And that's so true. 10 years from now, your kid's going to go, Mom, your house is absolutely sparkling and clean. I remember how you did the dishes every night right after dinner. Right. They're
Never.
going to remember, did we do things to try and make it fun?
Totally, totally. So what drew you to athletes? Like, how did you get into working with athletes?
Yeah. So I was a Division I athlete, and two ways to look at it. So I went to college 82 through 86. So the percentage of females who got close to full rides at that time were tiny, right? So pretty significant accomplishment. But if
Yeah.
I were to look at my career, I'd say it's pretty average. And so big accomplishment, but pretty average. After college, I met a gentleman, Dr. Rob Gilbert, who's a sports psychologist out of Montclair University in New Jersey. And I was a high school coach, and he changed my life by introducing me to the power of positive psychology. And he just changed my life. So I had an insurance career, and throughout my career, my gift was coaching and developing others. Individuals and elevating teams. Like, that was my gift. And so in 2013, I called him and I said, tell me how you did what you did. And I basically went back for a second master's and did the pivot, because I wish I knew then, when I was a younger athlete, what I know today. Mental skills can be trained, right? And if we have today, the youth sports market has just exploded, right? So parents are investing, $3, $5, $10,000 a year for their kids to play, travel, and yeah. No one is training these kids on the mindset, on the mental game skills. And you work with I call it a micro niche of pretty much high schoolers, but I work with some college and older. But if you work with a 16-year-old athlete who's really driven, and you say, here's a couple of things that we should be doing, they'll do it. They'll learn how to relax. They'll learn how to let go of their perfectionism. And then they can compete more relaxed and with greater confidence. So what drew me to the space is I was an athlete, and I see the power of having the skills both in life and in sports. And it's just fun to pay it forward.
Two huge things came up for me when you shared that. The first one is, I love when you said your gift. Your gift was, what was that? You're like, my gift was.
Coaching and developing others.
Yeah. I love that, because so many times entrepreneurs, if you're listening, or network marketers, small business owners, solopreneurs, so many times we focus on what we do. I coach high schoolers. I do this. I do that. I love that you frame that as my gift, because that's like the value of what you do in this world, because you can take that gift anywhere. You just happen to be, like you said, high schoolers is like your jam. That's where you like, that's that niche that you've settled into. But you can adapt and take that gift anywhere. And that's the way, I know this has nothing to do with perfectionism, but that just jumped out at me as like, that's such a good mindset flip to ask yourself, what is my gift? Or right now in COVID, many people are thinking about launching something new, putting out an offer. What is that gift that you're giving? Write your copy and your languaging and your sales page and your live around that. So, Anne, I thought that was just such a gift that you gave the listeners. And you probably didn't even realize that you did that, but I had to pull that out.
I did not.
And then the second one, when you were talking about these high schoolers, you were saying, if you can get them to relax, that is when they perform better. And it literally brought back a flashback for me. I was a nurse before I did, entrepreneurship. And I can remember being tested with my nursing, clinical hands-on skills with like 3 professors with their notepad and pens, like looming over my shoulder. And I knew exactly what I needed to do, but I would get so freaking scared because the pressure of someone like literally waiting for me to make a mistake and they couldn't wait to write it down. The environment and the setup was so scary that you're not your best when you can't relax a little bit. And it's like when nobody was watching and I was just there doing my thing, it was amazing, right? A skill you have to develop over time, right? Being under pressure. But it just made me think about that, how much, whether you're relaxed or you're stressed, tell me a little bit about that. Why is it?
Yeah. So, when you're stressed, your breathing is usually shallow and your self-talk is negative. right?
Mhm.
So two areas where I coach on. One is just very simply, usually in the free 15-minute introduction,
Yep.
I'll ask the client, hey, how do you use your breath? And if it's an athlete, they're like, when I'm pissed off, or I don't, right? And so we'll just do one exercise where we slow it down for 30 to 45 seconds. And
Mm,
then the second time, what I want is I want one word on inhale, one word on exhale. And the why is when I'm stressed, I'm breathing faster and my thoughts are negative. So I learn to slow my breath and I want to learn to control my thoughts. And
mm,
so when I inhale, I have one word. When I exhale, I have another word. And so, and this literally, I was working with an executive coach who put me in it in our session, and then I just have taken it and modified it. So for my athletes, often the words are calm and confident,
mm,
right? So think about it. I'm breathing shallow and I'm like, I'm afraid I'm going to mess up, afraid I'm going to mess up. To, and if I'm a nurse under exam, right? I start using my breath, deep breaths, and I'm like calm and confident.
mhm.
So, I have a whole mixture of words, but that's most common. I have some that like faith and fun, calm and trust, right? Trust yourself is a shorter word, I believe, for confidence.
Mm,
I have buckets of words. So if I'm doing a big keynote, it's calm and confidence. And then if I got stuff between the business and my kids and my house, it's peace and gratitude.
mm,
Because really, whatever is stressing you out is like, take a breath, see the gifts in your life, be appreciative, find that gratitude space.
I
So
love that.
yeah, so one is just the breath work and the two words, right? And anybody can do that. And we do a little trick. Sometimes we'll take and put an alarm setting in our phone that says what those words are, who you want to be, so that can go off. And so instead of the word alarm, it says calm and confident.
Mm,
And then I had the good fortune of meeting George Mumford, who's legendary in the mindfulness space in October. He
mm,
worked with Kobe, Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls. Like, he's legendary. And the audience is about 1,000 people in the audience. The average age was probably 25. They had no idea who he was. I'm like, he's a freaking legend. So I went up one-on-one. I chatted with him and I said, you know what? I teach breath work, but I think my kids need, my clients need more. So I partnered with somebody and we just released 3 meditations that we wrote specifically for student athletes. And I only have right now, literally, they're like 3 weeks off the press, but I have one young athlete using them. And his comments is, it makes the bad thoughts go away. It
mm,
makes me feel more relaxed,
mm,
allows me to focus better.
mm,
So elite athletes meditate, type A entrepreneurs struggle, right?
mm,
Myself included. And how can we pull people into that space and just say 5 minutes, 5 minutes to just be still?
mm. I love that so much. I love listeners to recap. I love that you talk about it starts with the breath. It starts with noticing your breath, pausing 30 to 45 seconds, slowing it down. And then, second, those words calm, confident, peace, gratitude. That is a free tool, free gift. Your breath and affirmations are there for you 24/7 when you need it. That is something you can start with. And those actually, it's funny you say type A. That was totally me. The last year, I've had a huge shift and I do meditate regularly now. And that's where I started. I started with 5 minutes guided breath work affirmation. I am safe. I am confident. I am safe. I am peaceful. I am safe. I am like, that's literally, because sometimes that's a scary place to slow your breath, to get, because when you get still, those thoughts are strong, right?
Yep.
When you're doing and acting and type A and producing and performing and practicing, and when you're on the go, you're never still with those thoughts, right? So that can be a scary, yet hugely powerful place to be. So I love, and congratulations on getting those meditations out. That is huge. Huge for
Yeah,
our young athletes, but huge for the world. Like just anybody to start doing that. What I think about is like pressure, right? These young athletes probably feel the pressure right now. Kids are so stressed about, I think about high school, like that is a stressful time when you're trying to figure yourself out, figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. If you're an athlete, you're figuring out that side of your life. Like there's a lot going on in that time. And how developed is your brain to be able to, the capacity to deal with all that pressure, right? So I love that. But sometimes that pressure doesn't seem to leave you, right? You have pressure as a high school student, you have pressure as a mom if you're, or as you get older, you have pressure when you get married and you live with other people, you have pressure in your work, right? So I
so
love
some of that pressure is tied to perfectionism.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I have to be the perfect mom. I have to be the perfect student. I have to be the perfect athlete. And nobody in the history of this world is perfect. Right. So, what's the process of success? What's the process?
Yeah. Why do you think we want to be perfect? Is it fear? Is it like,
I think media has messed up some things, like, hey, here's my Instagram. Look at my Instagram. Like, right? So it's what people are surrounded by,
yeah.
right? And it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
We can see people, we all know people. You look at them and they're like, they're perfect. And you're like, they're not perfect, but they look perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And so what's the process?
Yeah.
So if I want to reduce stress, right, unmet expectations is like the number one reason for divorces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if part of the exercises are what are the expectations I believe in or I'm holding myself to, right? So let's just take a simple one. I want to lose weight. My expectation is that I'm placing on myself is that I'll eat perfectly and I'll work out 7 days a week. And so Monday, the wheels fall off the bus and I don't work out. So then I beat myself up because I didn't work out one day or because I put a cookie in my mouth one day, right? And so what's the process? What's the process? Move your body, make healthy food choices. Move your body, make healthy food choices. Right. And you don't, you do that for 3 days and you get on the scale and you're like, it didn't move. Stay off the scale and just stop and go, did you move your body 3 days in a row? Did you make healthier food choices? All right, good. Keep doing that. What's the process? We know we want the scale to move, but if I do healthy things 5 out of 7 days, that's good.
Yes. Yes. The process instead of the expectation. Because with the expectation, it sounds like there's no room for air. You don't leave any room for air. I'm going to eat healthy all the time and exercise every day. That's not leaving any room for error.
Yep. And so I'll share a story. My daughter, I don't know, maybe she was in 8th grade and she got a B. She got her first B in a marking period. And she started to cry. And I said, did you do your best? She said, yeah. I go, give me a hug.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it. That's it. And I remember when I was in middle school, I came home, I got a C in science. My mom goes, congratulations. You know what the world is like now. There are plenty of people who get C's, right? And so we have, not everybody is an A, right? And you can be an A without giving your best. You can be a C and give your best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so are you doing your best? And are you investing in the process of doing your best?
I love that so much. And I love that the process is actually your marker of success. Like, are you investing in the process? God, I love that. And I was thinking even about the expectation piece. I remember when I started a workout program with Sean T. who's like a trainer who loves John T.
Yeah.
And he made this post and he was like talking about how you can't compare your 20-year-old self to your now like 30 or 40-year-old self. Like he was saying,
But we do, right? Like,
you,
let it
right?
go.
Like he's saying when you're 20 and it's just you and you got all day to like exercise and meal prep and work out, and as opposed to when you're 30 or 40 and you've got kids and you've got a husband and you have a job and you have like, he's like, you can't compare apples to apples in your life. That's unrealistic expectations to think that you're going to perform at the same level you did when you were 20 or when you were 15 or when you were 30 if you're 60. Like he's saying, you got to be real with where you are, focus on the process, and set realistic expectations. Yeah, I love the process. I just love that you keep bringing up the process. Because I even think about, I wanted to run a marathon really bad. That was like my thing. And I've only ever run a 5K. I've never run any races longer than 5K. And I was like, oh, but I like running and I'm good at running and I can do it and I'll run a marathon. Long story short, did I get my butt handed to me when I tried to like holy mindset. I was like, oh, and I wanted to do it in like 6 months because I was like, I can do it. And then I was like, no, I need to focus on the process. If I have to run a 10K and then a half marathon and then work my way to the marathon, good. Like unrealistic expectations. I set myself up too quickly and then I was beating myself up because how come I can't do this? How come I'm not good at it? Why is this so hard? Why am I struggling? It wasn't a realistic expectation. So I love that you're saying focus on the process, set realistic expectations. And I'm assuming this is something that you do in your life too, with your own. Have there been times that you've got caught in that and went, okay, and take it back a notch? Like, here we go. Like, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So if you were, a senior executive making lots of money and you start your own business from scratch, your self-talk can be really like, why are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Right. And I had to recognize initially I was branded in the insurance arena. I today work with athletes and business professionals. I had to brand in that athletic, in the sports space. And if you could think of your career as like this tower, I'm pretty high up on the insurance tower. I'm like, you're zero. You're in the basement. You're in the basement in this sports space. Yeah. Right. And I had to kind of go, okay, girlfriend, what are the steps? What are the steps? You got to do them all over again. Right. So what's the process to rebrand yourself? What's the process of success?
Ooh,
and another thing, so I want to just bring this in for perfectionism, right? Perfectionists believe it's like an A or an F. I either did it great or it was an F.
I'm at the top or I'm at the bottom. There's no in between.
There's no in between. And I literally in my career, I had somebody come in after 1 year as a new leader. He came in at 13 months to resign. And I'm like, I love you. Why are you resigning? He's like, in my eyes, I'm either an A or an F. And I was an F. I'm like, you were B plus. You were B plus, right? In your first year. And, what happens is the scale is not A or F. It isn't 0 or 10. It's a scale for a reason. So today, can you go, you know what? I had a sinus infection. I still went to work. I still pulled off my mommyhood. And you know what? For today, it was a B plus. And that was really great considering everything I was balancing. So can we open that? It's not A or F. Can you open it up and give yourself some grace and permission to recognize that, your best each and every day is different?
That is a mic drop right there. And oh my gosh. And I think about when Brendan Burchard, who I know we've both worked with, studied with, he was sharing that exact thing you said, Anne, about how we think that like the next phase or the next challenge that we take on we think we're automatically like gonna be at the top because we've had success in our life. And he was saying that's what derails a lot of people, because because they've achieved some significant success in their life, they don't realize that it's like starting at the bottom and climbing again, and they don't realize how hard it is, because they assume once they've succeeded and made it to, the top tower, that everything else starts at the top tower, when in all actuality, when it's a completely new challenge, new business, new child even, right? I only have the one and only right now, but my friends with multiple children tell me parenting each child is a different game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't, I love that you said grace and permission. I think those are two really powerful words when we are navigating the challenges. And back to that, perfectionism, it's not black or white. It's not A or F. It's not top or bottom. There's a lot of grace in between. I think about the piano. We've got a piano in our house, and I'm learning the scale. My son and I are learning the piano, and you're right. It's like there's A through, F, or A through G. Like there's a whole range of scales. It's not just the bottom or the top. And if we can see ourselves with that grace and that permission of those in between bits, to really realize that's it. It's not just one or the other. And do you think perfectionism, you think people see perfectionists see other people that way too? Like I think about the grace and permission for other people along.
Yeah, so perfectionists tend to be really hard on themselves,
Mm-hmm.
so they can be really hard on others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
coaches, parents, like the influences, that shape a lot of the stories, and that self-talk, where that came from. Yeah.
People crave acknowledgement. People crave acknowledgement, right? And as an individual, you might go, I don't need it. Well, but the people around you do. And I bet you if you got it, you would like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think about this COVID space, this quarantine space,
Yep.
how can you acknowledge the efforts of the folks you're quarantined with, right? So as simple as, I say to my kids, what, I'm really proud of how you have adapted and are doing your work online. I'm really proud of your attitude as we've had to transition to a different lifestyle. And can you acknowledge your spouse or your partner for, thanks for just keeping the laundry rolling, right? Because we're in such uncharted times. So it's easy to nag, you left your junk by the blah, 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 blah. Or, can you feel the positive and you lift somebody up, and that grows the positive.
Totally. And it makes them want, I'll tell you, when I'm like, honey, thanks for doing the dishes. Honey, thanks for doing the laundry. Guess what? He does more dishes and more laundry because I recognize it and say, thank you. People are motivated. A little thank you, that acknowledgement can go such a long way.
Absolutely.
Your household,
Absolutely.
Teams, with your bosses, with your, all of that, right? A little bit goes a long, long, long way. Oh my gosh. And that was so good. There's so much to go back to. And if you're feeling that pressure, if you're seeing the world through, you're an A or you're an F and there's no in between, especially in this time, this is one of those podcasts I want you to go back to. Anne talked about the breath. She talked about those words, calm, trust, peace, gratitude. We talked about the influences around us, putting those realistic expectations, shifting our focus, right? Learning how to relax and slow down so you can actually get in that right headspace to put yourself in that space where you can play to your best that day. that day, because that's all we have is that present, that marker right here and now. So I love that. And that little bit of acknowledgement and love that we can pass on to people, especially in this time when it can seem crazy and it can actually literally probably be crazy. Right? Like, there are some days when I'm like,
Yeah.
I got this. We are good. There are other days where I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, it's such a mixed bag. And I think that's so true, Anne, how you just said it's like, realizing where you're at for today. Where you are today doesn't mean every day. Doesn't, it's like, I did good today. I did good with what I got. I did the best of what I could be today. I did the best with what I could do. And that's all that you can say. That's it. That's it right there. So I love that so much. And so they can get in touch with you. Where's my notes here? Okay. Her website, www.greatsports with an S, mindsllc.com. Don't worry, if you don't have a pen or paper, you're driving, you got something going on, I will put it in the show notes. And Zapranzy is also on LinkedIn, so if you're on there, and you're on Facebook as well, so I'll make sure I will get that there for you guys to get in touch with her. If you need, and because it's not just athletes, you help business owners, you help lots of people around this mindset of what it takes to be your best that day.
Enjoy the journey, girlfriend. Enjoy the journey. We only get one life. And you know what? We got to figure out how to enjoy it.
You are so right. Our kids aren't going to look back and say, boy, Mom, you really cleaned that house so good. boy, business owner, you really balanced that spreadsheet wonderfully today. No one's going to, these things that we stress out about and we think have to be so perfect probably have zero weight in anything that we'll ever remember, anyone around us will ever remember in our life. So enjoy.
They're going to remember how you feel, how you made them feel.
Yeah, they're going to remember how you made them feel. And right from Anne's mouth, enjoy the process.
Bam.
So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll get in contact with Anne, because as you can see, she's an amazing resource to get your mind right. So glad you were here. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time on the Lisa Pezik Show. Bye for now.